So today we've got a Caterpillar, and this should be the 330. Okay, yep, so 330, which had a previous install already, and you can see we got sensors on it. It's already rigged up. What they're wanting to do is they're gonna want to swap from one machine to the other machine. So I got a I think that's another no, that's a 335, I think, something like that. 330, 335 maybe, or 330. So that machine is going to be getting an install today, brand new install, while they basically just take the display out of this one, put it in that one, and they can interchange that display. So we'll have to calibrate that one and build a file for it and put it into this GX55. So we got to install today, and that should be nice and easy. So this is just simply the simple mount, and that'll be easy. So they can swap it right back and forth. Use that for, you can use this for like up to 10 machines. You can put different files on it for each machine and just swap it back and forth. But the new machine, whatever you're going to be using, has to have all the mounts and the sensors and everything wired up, all the cables and all that. So we're going to do that today. And this is the machine that's getting the install. So we'll weld a mount for the dog bone. Bring the cable up, put a stick sensor on, bring the cable around onto the boom, put a boom sensor up there, bring it down, come over here, find a nice little spot. Yes, perfect. I like to use these plates right here. These are grease plates. I just take that off. It's 4 bolts. Take that off and weld the body sensor right on that. That plate is cheap to replace if you ever want to replace it. Or you can grind that that sensor pad off, but it's cheaper to replace that. There's really no other place. I guess we could put it right there, weld it down right there, but the better thing to do is just knock that off and weld it right to that. This is going to be GRI3. Yeah, this is a 335. That's interesting. It's got a lot smaller body than that one, that 330. So we'll just get this positioned. We'll have to install a mount and wire this up, and that'll be it. Should take us about 4 or 5 hours to install this. So the first thing on an install is basically we put the bucket sensor on. And it's got a big old coupler on it. You see that mount is going to go right there. So how are we going to run that cable up here? So we need to fully enclose this, basically mark it where this system falls, so that when we weld our green clamp on, which should probably go right about there, so that that cable comes up and it's got that protective hose on it, so it doesn't catch on anything, and it doesn't get knocked into by this coupler piece there. Well, actually that's the thumb. So, and then we do the same thing the other way too. Just find its limits, so when we weld the stuff on there, it doesn't get broken. And you see that dog bone, and you see where I marked right there. So we have the limit coming up this way. What's the limit coming up this way? So that green clamp can actually probably might have to go a little bit further up here just to get out of the way, and then we can run that hose straight down this way, underneath, straight up, probably straight through here. We'll use that as a protective area, and we can put, actually we're gonna have to come up around this way. Yeah, right about there is probably gonna be where the stick sensor goes. And then what that'll do is that'll come up over here. We'll put protective hose here that goes all the way up, follows these hoses to that top piece there, and then just straight cable. And then over here, real simple boom sensor. So that's it. Now just position the equipment so if you need to get underneath here, you can actually get these pans off, usually for the display cable. And it should be positioned where you have the tracks this way and the cab mounted this way. So alright, and that's all you really have to do like that. I'm going to extend it a little more because that's going to be hard to weld down there. There's a plate that comes in here, plate probably about that big, that's going to be welded right there. You see how much room we have? Don't have enough room to weld. Actually, yeah, we do a little bit. I'll lift it up a little bit more. Alright, that's good. Yeah, make sure your bucket is turned all the way to the inside, folded all the way up as far as it can go, okay? Because you have to account for how much cable is going to be here. If you had that open and you put this mount on with the cable and then you went back that way, it would pull it. It would pull that cable and break it. So that right there sets the limit of how much excess you need to put on, basically. So yeah, so we'll mount there, green clamp there, and we should probably only need one more green clamp right about there. This is gonna be the stick sensor. It'll come up to the cable, protective hose, cable, boom, and we'll knock that plate off in there and we'll actually weld the pad on that, and that's it. And then we can wire up the display and wire up the MCX1 and put the antennas on. Matter of fact, let's go up there and take a look and see if there's a good spot for those antennas. And we got the rail mounted, so we can rail mount, or these caterpillars are kind of funny with available spots. You don't want to put it back there because when you lift the hood up, it's going to be on a pole. So what we'll probably end up doing is just knocking out these bolts, and we'll put a metal plate right there with the antenna mount welded to it, and the antenna will come up here, and we'll probably just use a rail mount for the auxiliary antenna. And this is interesting because usually this is open. We're gonna have to run our cable straight down here, down under, and into the belly. Oh, that is interesting. Okay. Oh, caterpillars. My goodness. So this is the body sensor. It's just a little pad, and the sensor screws onto that. I'm just gonna mark it and get that paint off, weld it down, and then that's it for that one. We just put it right back. Easy to fix, easy to replace. If you weld it anywhere else, you got to make sure you can get a grinder in there and a welding rod. So this is the best spot I found. Simple. Well, that's it for the body sensor. All you need to do is basically put a quick little weld on it and paint it. When you get to the point where you're actually going to put the stick sensor on, you want to match the inside of the stick. So we're at 42.4. So you want that pad to be 42.4. It helps out. You're allowed 20 degrees offset, but it makes it so much easier for the system if it is already at 0. Then when you put the boom sensor up, you want to basically go from boom pin, which you can't see on this side, to the end of the boom pin there. So just take a level and just kind of guesstimate. Again, you got 20%. I think we'll be safe at 2.5. So 2.5 for the sensor pad on the boom. And as far as the bucket pad, that basically just goes square with that dog bone. So I always start on the bucket end, put the bucket sensor on, put the cable on, put the stick sensor on, put the cable on, run it up, and then put the boom sensor on, run the cable down, and then I do the body sensor. But my parts aren't here yet, so I'm waiting for more parts. I need all the pads, I need all the sensors, so I'm just doing what I can until my parts show up. Alright, our body sensor mount is ready to go. I just put the rubber shield back over it so that no debris gets in there. Make sure you clean this area very well before you take this off. You don't want dirt getting down in there. I try not to remove this rubber pad at all, even though it does move around a little bit. I just leave it in place. And this will go right down on it, like so. And there it goes. That is your body sensor mount. And the bolts will ensure that it's squared up. As long as you squared it up on that little metal plate, and you just zip it down. Don't screw these down too hard, because again, it's just a little piece of rubber. Alright, and that's it. Body sensor is in place, and it has these little metal ears basically that have to extend out once the sensor is on there, so it's plenty of room. You can just bring the cable back, run it up underneath the cab into the system, and then the other end comes up over the boom to the boom sensor. That's it on that one. So the cable coming down from the boom sensor is going to have to go underneath the boom pin there, down this metal plate, down into the body sensor. So I'm just going to use P-clamps, and I think I'm going to have to use the larger one. We'll put a P-clamp up there on that bolt, and we'll put a P-clamp on that bolt. So 2 P-clamps, and then we'll just zip tie the cable to it. That'll secure that there without any problem. Alright, the key with installing this stick sensor is you got all these cables over here that actually move, right? And see how far back they come, and you can see where they rub. I've seen these sensors mounted up here like this, right in the rub area, and they hit the cable and they knock the cable off and they break the cable. Just move it back. It could be anywhere on this stick. It could be down there, it could be way up there, it could be anywhere. So I'm just going to mount it right there, and it's going to be out of the way of anything touching the cable and pulling on it and yanking on it. And I'm actually going to take the hose, bring it down like this, secure it right there, and then take my excess and just loop it right here underneath so it's protected by this piece, and then just take the hose and basically bring it up along with the rest of it. So that's a good spot for it right there, and we already marked the angle of it, so we can mark it, we can grind it and weld it. Got these funny little support brackets that basically go on, and they're there to support the cable. So it'll go on just like that. Just mark it right there. Just mark where it ends. That way you know where to put your green clamp, where the actual hose is going to end. So I marked it there, but I'll actually put it right about there. Alright, I got my pads ground down. As you see, we put the limits on this. You see the limit mark we put on it? So if we get any closer to that, if we're in here, it's going to get knocked and broke. So that's going to be a perfect spot for that. It's out of the way. It's going to bring the hose up and around, and that'll be nice. And then it'll bring it up here to here, and then that pad on right there. So that's it. That's all this system needs, is 2 green clamps, bucket mount. Now the most important thing is to turn off the battery wherever it is on this machine. These Caterpillars, they just change them up constantly. I think it's up in here. I don't know. Nope. Still mounted in the side. That's good. So our system will probably get mounted back here, and all the cables will just run through there and out for the sensors and antennas. Alright, battery's off. Now we can start welding on this. Weld the mounts on, and we still got to do the bucket mount, and the parts have arrived, so that's good. And these are basically all the parts. So they're doing a swap. They're swapping the antennas. They're going to be swapping the antennas from one machine to the other machine. The display and the MCX1, that's a lot to swap. I'm not sure why they're doing all that, but they are. So here is our bracket, our mount for the actual bucket, and we should have a 3-meter cable for that, 7-meter cable for the stick, and a 5-meter cable for the boom. And that should be everything I need. We'll grab these mounts because they have the screws in them, D-clamps. There's our sensors down there. Should be one more. Yep, there it is. Alright. There's another mount. Alright, that should be everything we need to get started, get these sensors on. Alright, so you got 4 sensors for the machine, and they each have their own specific serial number, but these are the TSI3S 500s. The S is single, the D is dual. So the D is going to go on your body, and the S's will go on your stick, boom, and bucket. And what I do is I just take that serial number, which is 4870115, and I just start going down. The smallest number should be at the bucket. Okay? And then I just label them like so. Bucket, stick, boom, body. And we install them just like that. And these sensors are installed so that little green light is going all the way facing the machine. So it's going, that's the inline. This is the outline. So the outline gets terminated. So you need a 50 ohm terminator on the bucket. Basically says stop. Okay, so the sensors are installed from the bucket all the way to the body, and now we just need to add a cable from the body where the green light is. Green light always goes towards the computer system, and you come out here, there should be no green light facing that way. Should face that way. And then we'll just run a cable to the MCX1 and wire it up. It should be good to go. Throw the display on it and do a flex test and adjust what needs to be adjusted. I did adjust one thing over here. I just brought that hose down lower. I had it up here where it actually it moved, so I don't want that to move at all. I don't want that cable to move at all. So there, it does not move, just the rest of the system. I almost thought about just putting a green clamp in there, but then that works too. So got the auxiliary antenna mounted, cable run under and through, comes up to the main. Had to build a little plate for it, and down, and the MCX1 is going to be down in there in the cap, and the body cable running to the MCX1, running under the cab. And this one is the one that we're just taking the parts off of. Basically, we just took the antennas, took the display, so they're going to want to swap out when they want to use GPS on their equipment, which I think is just a lot of work, and it's just people will break things. I don't see a UR1 antenna, just a radio. So they should probably protect these, or it's going to get dirt in them. They're going to swap out. They're going to have a lot of damage, a lot of difficulty. They're going to learn the hard way that they need to cover these up. You got employees taking these on and off and on and off. It's going to get damaged. And that's the UR1 antenna right there that they're going to be swapping out as well. Just very strange. I know this stuff's expensive, but it's going to get more expensive when you have to keep swapping things out and things end up damaged because your employees aren't going to be gentle, and then you're leaving all these plugs open. I don't know, I just find that weird. I just don't see regular employees taping this stuff up after they've swapped the equipment from one machine to the other. They'll get some damage, and then I'll have to come out and troubleshoot it. And I'll remember this one. I'll know. We'll have dirt all up in the pinholes. We'll tape them up for them. Maybe that'll be a reminder to them. It's like, why is there tape on there? Because it's dirty out here. Got the display mounted. MCX1's mounted. And UR1, sensor cables, antenna cables. Sensor cable goes down. That's it. That's everything. Now we gotta calibrate. Measure and calibrate. Oh, do a flex test. Nice and slow, watching the stick, making sure nothing moves. That looks good. Bucket. Raise it up a little bit. Nice and slow. Can you see that cable? I can't see it from here. There we go. How close is it to that green clamp?
An inch or two.
And I checked clearance on that this morning. Yeah, that sits in there pretty nice. That's not going to get caught on anything. Couldn't reach that bottom one down there, so I'll fix it now. So, taking measurements of the antennas in reference to the main pin, the main boom pin. Basically, find the center, extend it back. As you see, I put a mark there, and basically measure over to the antenna, measure over to that antenna, and that's the distance from center those two antennas are. And then you just go from the center of the pin and measure back, and that'll get you your distance to the actual antennas. So 4 measurements here. And just running through calibration now, seeing where this thing's gonna be. Calibration's everything. That's it, calibration's done. Machine's cutting very good to the model. Get to work.